Hey everybody, this is Frank Hannon from Tesla, and you're listening to the Brandi and Randy Podcast.
Hey, it's Brandi.
And Randy.
And you're listening to
The Brandi and Randy Podcast with our special guest,
Frank Hannon of Tesla.
Well, it's great to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me. I am calling you live from Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Where it is hotter than a $2 pistol.
It's about, 80-some here.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting up to Ohio. I saw on the radar that we're going to be there this weekend in a town called Lima, Ohio.
Yes, Lima. It's pronounced Lima, believe it or not.
Lima. Well, I should have known that.
It's all right. It's weird. It's like lima. Think of lima bean.
Right.
And then you'll remember it.
Is it named after a lima bean? Is there a lot of lima beans growing around there?
Well, don't they have the lima bean? I think they got the Lima Bean Festival in Lima, don't they? Or something like that? I don't know. Something close to that.
They do have something. Now I'm going to have to research.
Yeah, now you got us thinking.
Now my mind. Yeah, but you're going to be in Lima. You're going to be there at the Veterans Memorial Civic and Convention Center. So you're going to be there on July 7th.
Which is like what? Day after tomorrow.
It is. It sure is.
In
it is.
2 days. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Tesla is always ready. Oh, by the way, I'm the guy from Tesla. All you listeners, my name is Frank, and I'm in a band called Tesla. Sometimes I get called the guy from Tesla. Oh, it's that guy again, the guy from Tesla.
So, I'll tell you what, I started listening to you guys back in the day, man. I tell you, I saw you guys in concert. First time I saw you guys was when you opened for Def Leppard, in 1987. I saw you guys up in Cleveland at the old Richfield Coliseum.
Wow. Yeah. And we were in the round, right? In the middle of the arena?
It was. That was a heck of a show, too. 87 was a good year.
You know, the 80s was a great decade. It gets a lot of flack on some levels because it was such a glam decade or whatever. But, it was a lot of fun. I mean, the 80s were great, I think.
I think the 80s were great too, Frank. One of my favorite decades. I would never go back and change a thing. Well, maybe.
Maybe some things.
Maybe a couple things, but,
Could be, yeah.
I might have got a few more nights' sleep.
Now, you guys have sold more than 14 million albums in the United States. That's a lot, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, heck, selling albums is definitely a thing from the 80s as well. These days, everything is on the cell phone, so
Sure.
By today's standards, it's definitely a lot. But at the time, honestly, we were never an overnight success. We toured relentlessly and worked really hard. And we weren't never a huge household name like a Bon Jovi or AC/DC or something like that. But we did sell a lot of records, and I'm very proud of the fact that here it is 40 years later since we started this thing in high school, and we're still able to come to Lima Bean, Ohio.
Yeah, there you go. One of my favorite albums that you guys do actually was the 2-volume set of Reel to Reel. I play that all the time in my car. I love that. When you guys redid the songs, it was great.
Hey, thanks, Randy. And you know why you like it?
Why is that?
It's because it was live. It was totally live. We played together as a band. We didn't email parts to each other and cut and paste in a computer. It was actually done on a reel-to-reel tape machine in a studio in Texas. And we all got together and, we picked those songs. Over a year's time, we were practicing them at sound checks and stuff like that and trying to pick the creative set list of stuff that hadn't been covered by many other bands. But the best part about it is we were live in a room playing. That's why we titled the album Reel to Reel, like keeping it real to real tape machines.
But your cover of Ball of Confusion, man, I mean, nothing touches that as far as I'm concerned. And the words of that song are even, I mean, that could have been written today.
Yeah, Yeah, that was a cool song, and that was an obscure choice for us, you know. And I feel that Jeff Keith, our singer, man, you know, when he puts his heart into stuff, he can really deliver it. And he delivered that one. He delivered every song on that album. And thank you, man. I appreciate your kudos.
Oh, no problem. It's very often you talk about playing on my phone. I always have that Bluetooth into my stereo in my car all the time when I try. I have about a half-hour commute to work, and quite often that's in my car playing.
Well, did you ever get the volume 2? You know, because it was 2 sets. It was a reel-to-reel, like 2 tape reels.
Yeah, I listened to both.
Machine. And what we did is we offered people the second reel, so to speak, which was the second CD, when they came to a Tesla concert that year. Did you ever get that second version?
No, I just heard it just online, like on Spotify and stuff is where I've heard it. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. You guys have been around since when? When did you guys start?
Well, it was 40 years ago. We're in 2023 now. It was 1983. I was a junior in high school, and Brian Wheat, our bass player, he was a senior, had just graduated high school. And he was already playing a lot with some older kids, and he had a car, and he had a job. And I was younger, but I had been playing guitar. I was kind of like the young kid, guitar player, hotshot kid in around the neighborhood, you know. And I'm not saying that in an ego way. I'm just saying that's kind of how, at the time, you know, because I was a little kid that could play guitar pretty good, you know. And so he snatched me up, and he and I got together, and we kicked out everybody else in the band and started running the band ourselves. And he had a car, and I had a guitar, and we started playing parties and everything back in 1983. So he and I have been together for 40 years. Wow.
It's hard to believe it's been that long, hasn't it?
Man, you know, just the past 5 years have been a whirlwind, and you know, I'm seeing photographs of like kids that were babies that are like now, like, you know, going to school. You know, the time has really just been like flying by recently. It's crazy.
It is, man. I got grandchildren that are growing up like way too fast. It just goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. I had my first grandson born almost 3 years ago, and he's like a little man. He's just running around, and it's awesome.
Isn't it great? It's the best thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You know, they and grandkids, they really gravitate to their grandparents. You know, it's a different kind of affection and love that they show.
So I noticed you guys, not only do you work with Tesla, you do solo stuff too, don't you?
Yeah, I've been recording and writing my own songs, and I'm a frustrated singer. I like to sing lead vocals as well as write my own lyrics. That a lot of songs that Tesla would never do, you know. And I like to experiment with different styles, so I'm always dabbling with different styles of music and stuff that Tesla and Jeff Keith would never even want to do.
Right.
You know, kind of like, I'm kind of like Frank Zappa when it comes to that kind of craziness.
Sure.
But I'm actually entertaining the idea of doing a blues album finally. I love playing blues and slide guitar, and I have some friends in Texas that play blues, and I might go down there and record something like that. It's my latest crazy idea that's been popping in my head.
That sounds like an awesome. That sounds awesome.
I dabble with all the instruments. I have a jazz fusion science experiment called Octopus, and I put that video out about 6 months ago, and I think it made people go, "What?"
Yeah. I noticed in that video too that you play every instrument, don't you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow. How many instruments do you think you play?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll play some sticks and stones. I'll play anything and try to make music out of it.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I'm a guitarist, one through and through. That's my main one love. But I love, my second love would be a Hammond B3 organ. I love that.
Yeah.
Bass guitar, I really love. I love playing bass. And drums, I started off on the drums, but I got tired of trying to carry all that hardware around. So I gave that up. I only do that out of necessity now. Just, I'll coach drummers. And that's the other thing I like to do is coaching. I like to produce as a producer, and I've produced a lot of young artists. And, in fact, right now, I just got home from a week-long producing section in Nashville, Tennessee, working with an artist I've been producing for about 5 years. His name is J.T. Lux, and he just got a new drummer. And because of my secret love for drumming, I worked with him in the studio, and we had a great synergy and created some great performances on his drum tracks. And that's what a producer does. When you see an album and it says produced by so-so, it's usually they're like a coach that's kind of, coaching the team, so to speak. And I love doing that.
You do a lot of producing then?
I do, yeah. I've produced a lot of unknown local bands in my hometown, and I've produced some of Tesla's latest music, Time to Rock and Cold Blue Steel, and this latest live album, we did a cover of Aerosmith's SOS Too Bad.
Cool.
I had my hand in producing that with Brian.
Cool. So if when someone goes to a Tesla concert, what can they expect? I can know what they can expect, but what do you guys do there? I mean, what do you guys? What does a Tesla concert sound like these days?
A Tesla concert is absolutely 100% real. We don't use any backing tracks or phony baloney stuff. So if it sounds edgy and raw and out of tune, that's because it is edgy and raw and out of tune.
Yeah, sure.
At the moment, we've always prided ourselves in keeping it real. And it goes back to our first album. Someone reminded me that we used to put the moniker on there that said "No Machines." And what that meant is we play all the instruments. And so they can expect a real high-energy rock and roll show with our classic songs that I'm very proud of, the songs that we've written. And again, I give credit to Jeff Keith, our singer. He wrote some songs from his heart. And we've also got these really cool video screens that play behind us now that have some old photos of the band and like lightning shows and crazy animation stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys play live because, I would rather see a band play their instruments live because I don't want it to sound like the album. I want it to sound like live.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, you don't want to, you want to be, I'll say you, me personally, I like to be there in the atmosphere, breathing the air of the artist. So, I want to hear that realness. And the one thing that they can't take away from us with technology is sharing the same space as someone. And being at the show, you're in a room or in an event with that person who's projecting their music to you. I just saw Peter Frampton the other night, and it was freaking awesome, man. It was like he's old and he's sitting in a chair and he's playing that guitar just like he did, if not better than he did in 1976, and you just feel that energy. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about.
I saw Peter Frampton a couple of years ago. Yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Brandi, I'm not hearing much from you. What are you doing back in there?
Hey, I'm just listening to you two chat, and I'm watching Octopus at the same time. So I'm multitasking. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Frank, is when you're getting ready for a show, what exactly do you do personally to get yourself ready to get out there and do that gig? Do you have any things that you specifically do? Like warm-ups or anything?
Well, I like to dedicate 30 minutes before we've got to go on to some alone time, take a shower, put on my clothes, practice my guitar a little bit, give myself that little bit of a cushion. A lot of times when you have guests hanging around or people there and you're rushing and you're like, in the past I would always be rushing and trying to just get to the stage in a hurry, and I don't like doing that anymore. So these days I try to allow myself just a little downtime, just to take some breaths, maybe stretch out a little bit.
Nice.
But nothing major. No crazy warm-ups or yoga calisthenic stretches or anything. No more bong hits or lines of cocaine or no more craziness like that. From the old days.
Groupies, none of that stuff anymore. You just kind of chill out, right?
Yeah, I just like to veg and take a breath, get about 30 minutes before the show. Because the rest of the time, on days off, I tend to go crazy. Like, I used to fly into Dallas and then rent a car and then go drive to freaking Oklahoma and go ride horses. Do all kinds of crazy stuff, go hiking,
yeah,
and then be late for the show, rushing back in a hurry, and then barely making it on stage on time. I don't like to do that too much anymore.
Right. It is a little difficult. I can kind of relate to that with the whole, running in at the last minute kind of thing, huh, Randy?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me right there.
That's Brandi.
It is, but you know what? It used to not be. But when you're doing that, I don't know. It's so much better to relax like you do and get yourself all ready for it, just mentally, and just get into that zone.
Yeah, well, I used to be the guy that was always late and always doing too much and always not watching the clock. And now suddenly I've learned that the clock is actually my friend, and if I use it for a tool and plan 2 hours ahead of time as a cushion before the time that I actually got to be somewhere, then that gives me a time to just settle down and ease into something,
Yeah, I like that. And I just wrote that down. Use a clock as a tool. Yeah, I'm using that for myself. I was taking notes of what you were doing,
All right. Well, cool, man. I hope it helps, and it will. It'll help you. It'll help you enjoy life and enjoy the clock better. I used to hate looking at the clock because I was always late.
Yeah.
But then when I started adding time on the other side of it, on the back side, like if I know I got to be somewhere by noon, I always plan to be ready by 10. And I never used to do that until recently.
And it works.
It does. It helps. It helps a lot. And so, but Tesla, speaking of the clock, Tesla has really developed our band. We run it on time, and we've developed our system to where we have a piece of paper, and the whole day is mapped out by the hour. I mean, I know what I'm doing at 4 o'clock, I know what I'm doing at 5 o'clock, and I know what I'm doing at 6 o'clock. And it's kind of good. It's a good feeling,
No, you're very organized these days.
Finally, after 57 years.
I know what you mean.
Well, some of us take a little bit longer than others. It's a whole creativity thing, It just, you're everywhere, It just happens. Your mind is on so many different things.
It's true. It's definitely true.
One of the things.
Well, what do you like to do, Brandi? What are some of the extracurricular stuff that you like to do besides making podcasts?
Well, you had mentioned something that touched me there. You were mentioning how you play the slide guitar, which I'm learning, which is so much fun.
Yeah.
And then bass, you had mentioned bass and how you really like that. That's also something that I've been doing, so that's cool. I like that. And then one of the things that you played that wasn't mentioned earlier was flute. Now, not a lot of guys play flute, and I think it's awesome that you know how to play flute. I played flute from 3rd grade on. I can still do it to this day. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Wow. Well, I'd love to hear you play. My favorite flautist, one of them is Ann Wilson from Heart.
Oh, she's fabulous.
I've taken some lessons from different female flautists, and I bet I'd love to hear you play sometime. It's such a beautiful sounding instrument. I do a flute solo on a song called Hills of California. So it's since you were looking up octopus, if you get bored after we hang up, check out the song Hills of California by Moi, and there's a little flute solo in that one.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to check that out. So what are you doing from today? You're in Sarasota, and then you're traveling to where? You coming up to Ohio?
Tomorrow I catch a flight to Chicago, and then we do a show in Lima, and then we play the legendary Milwaukee Summerfest.
Nice.
This weekend, yeah.
So we're, right now with Tesla, you have some new songs, which is awesome. And can I ask you this? When Jeff back in the day, some of those notes that he had to hit were high. Yeah. Oh man, even like some of them, like I have a hard time hitting, and I can do that, but some of his are really high. So with the years and going by and everything, is with Jeff, I heard that in an interview with him that he had to drop things down just a little bit to help his voice, and that's normal because that happens when people start getting older. The older that you get, the more of that muscle just kind of gets a little tight, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But it's awesome that he can still sing, and he only had to go down just a smidge. You won't even notice.
Well, yeah, you're right. Back in 1989, in particular, our second album especially, we were really singing and writing all these melodies that were super high octave stuff. We didn't think twice about it back then that maybe we should examine some of these. It was long before Eddie Vedder came out and changed the whole sound of of current music with a deep voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything was screaming.
Yes.
So anyway, getting back to what you're asking, yeah, we have examined our songs, and some of them we tuned down our guitars for, a whole step, which instead of playing in the key of A, we're now playing in the key of G.
Okay.
And, that helps. And then we examine the melodies, and, Jeff Keith has the kind of voice where, honestly, to me, he can talk, and it sounds great because he's just got a beautiful tone in his normal talking voice. So we're examining the melodies where he was screaming and and actually singing it in a lower octave, and it sounds great. The fans are still really enjoying it, and it sounds more pleasing to the ear.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Instead of like in your face, now he's singing, and he's singing to everyone, and it's pretty now. Is that what? Not that it wasn't pretty then, because it was.
I did. You remember the guy who did the song "Year of the Cat"? Remember that song?
Al Stewart. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Al Stewart. I met him one time on a Moody Blues cruise that I was performing on as a solo artist.
Yeah.
And I told him I loved his singing. How does he still do it? And he said to me really softly, he said, "I never shout at my audience."
That's
I never
fabulous.
shout. And I thought that was great. But Jeff Keith does a lot of shouting. We have rewritten some of our songs actually in different keys. Like one song used to be in the key of C, and I now play those same chords in a different position in the key of G, and it's called transposing the song. And we've done a few things like that, and it helps them not have to shout so much.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you're up there, when you start out and you're younger and you have that higher voice, and it's so easy to just belt that out. But like you said, you don't think of it. Am I still going to be able to do this in 20 years? Because you're not thinking that far ahead. So then you have to make some accommodations like you've done, which is fabulous because you're still around, you're still rocking, and we love it.
Well, thank you very much. We weren't thinking that 2023 was even a reality. I mean,
right.
I don't know about you, but I remember when 1999 was the future. You know what I mean?
Right.
We all thought that after the year 2000 that it was going to end. So
right.
Here we are 23 years after that fact.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. And you know, thinking about being in the 80s and such, you know, I was a teenager and I thought, I'm never going to live to see 30. I'm going to be dead by then, going out. And here I am. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty odd when you think about what you were like then versus what you're like now, you know.
Completely different person. Yeah.
Completely. So, Frank, when it comes to looking you up online, of course, you have a couple of different sites. You have the Tesla the Band's website, and then you have frankhannon.com, which is all about you. Is there anywhere else that they can find you? Facebook, anything like that?
Yes. Both Tesla and all of us in our band, we use Instagram mostly. It seems like the most of the musicians that we are in our peer group seem to gravitate towards Instagram, which is linked to Facebook. And mine is Frank Hannon Official with a blue check mark. But, you know, there's a lot of fakers out there and a lot of scam artists that are actually like trying to put blue check marks on their image now. It's crazy. We've been battling a lot of fakes. So I just want to say that real quick. Please be careful. If anyone is asking you for money or private messages, it is not official. It's a fake scam artist. So please be careful with that if you people are listening. So Frank Hannon Official, Tesla the Band, and those are the few real ones.
Fantastic. Now, when it comes to new music, what's your favorite song that you've actually, you know, came out with? Maybe you produced it, maybe you wrote, whatever. What do you have a favorite of the new stuff that you've done?
Well, I really enjoy "Time to Rock." It's a really rocking number for Tesla. Tesla's sort of made a comeback, in my opinion. And recovery from COVID, the whole COVID shutdown and the whole stuff we were doing prior to that. And so Tesla is on a roll right now, and our latest song was "Time to Rock," and I'm really proud of that one.
Fantastic. You know, Randy, we're going to have to find that.
I know,
right? We're going to have to grab that one real quick, and we'll throw that on later. How about that? Yeah.
All right.
Tesla again, July 7th, Veterans Memorial Civic and Convention Center in Lima, Ohio. Wow. Great show. That's all.
Not Lima. It's not Lima. It's Lima.
Yeah, just think of the bean. That's like think of the bean. Lima bean.
Right. That's what Ohio is. Corn, beans. There you go.
Yeah, I love Ohio, man. A lot of fun in Dayton, a lot of fun in Akron and Troy, Ohio, the Hobart Arena. We play there a lot. Always had some great times in Ohio.
Of course, Cleveland's the rock and roll capital of the world. There you go, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't get much more rock and roll than Cleveland, does it? Well, Frank, you are on the road. You're doing stuff. I suppose that we should probably, man, I hate to say this. I think we should probably wrap it up and let you get back to what you're doing.
Well, all good things come to a close, I guess, and I had a great time. Hope I didn't talk too much. I can tend to get real hyper on these things.
No,
but I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
No
Frank.
problem.
We really appreciate you, too. Thanks for joining us.
It's a great day, and Brandi and Randy, I really appreciate you, and
Thank you.
We'll see you down the road.
Hey, thanks for all the great music, too, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.